these are my 4 silk trees, and they look a bit rough right now because it's the middle of winter, so this is normal behavior for them. They're about 7 years old, and I did grow them from seed. And you may think to yourself, well, this isn't a tremendous amount of growth for 7 years, and I can explain that. First thing is, the physiology of these trees does not match with the Canadian environment. That's a given. They need long, hot, humid summers, and I just simply couldn't give them the environment in Canada. And also, they don't respond well to artificial light, so I couldn't extend the growing season. Another thing that hampered these trees is that my technique, I think, was poor. If I had it all over again, what I would do is I'd let them grow big and tall, and then I would have cut them back instead of, constantly pruning and directionally pruning and trying to get them into shape and wiring them. And who knows, that strategy may end up being the right one after all, but I think it's definitely the long way to do it. And then I haven't done any root work on these, and this summer, or this spring at least, I'm going to experiment with a pond basket on one of them and do some root pruning, eliminate some of those bigger tap roots and get a more dense fibrous root structure, which I think is going to help create a more verdant and robust canopy. And then the last thing that I'm going to do that gives me kind of hope that there's a future for these 4 is I'm going to give them a more lengthy dormancy. Now that they come from a very hot and humid environment, and I expected, being the case, that they would need light all year round. And so I've kept them, for the most part, under lights all this time. And in fact, that may have sapped their energy reserves going into spring. And I think that has been a detriment. But we'll know this spring because I'm changing up the strategy to see if it can work. And another thing about these is they respond in unusual ways to directional pruning. Whenever you cut a branch back, it will end up putting a shoot somewhere else, sometimes in parallel, sometimes growing the other direction towards the center of the tree. Sometimes the entire branch will die. But it has been very difficult even to get them to this point where there's a semblance of structure. And I know it's not very advanced, but even to get them to this basic point, it has been so hard. And that could be just some trees respond differently. It could be due to all the problems I mentioned previously with not enough fibrous root system, maybe not enough energy from the lack of dormancy. It could be all those things. But I'm correcting those coming this summer. And the next update I hope to show is kind of the repotting process and then how they perform later in the summer. But they do look quite beautiful when the leaves are growing, bright green, and in theory, they give off pink flowers. Now, I had the beginnings of flowers in the fall, actually, and they kind of died before they ended up developing. But I'm excited. I think this may be the year we get some nice pink flowers on these. But overall, look, there's been a learning process with these, and I do enjoy them, and I think they've been fun to work with. But we'll see if some of these new techniques pay off.